Welcome to the Bucher and Friends podcast, co-starring 10-year NFL veteran and Super Bowl champion, Will Blackman.
Manning from the end zone. He throws, and a deflect away, and it is picked off by Will Blackman, the former Giant.
Tim Dwight watches it hit, bounces, picks it up at the 10, slips a defender, fumbles the football, it's up for grabs, it's covered in the end zone by Will Blackman for a Green Bay touchdown!
And now, here is your host,
Let's send it over to Ric Bucher.
Ric Bucher.
Welcome to another episode of Bucher and Blackman, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends on the United WeCast Network. I'm Ric Bucher. He is Super Bowl champ Will Blackman. You can catch him on NFL Game Day Live Sundays on NFL Network. Still off season? Yes?
Yeah, still.
Okay. All right. And you can always catch him on Twitter at Will Blackman. You can read my stuff on Bleacher Report and on Twitter at Ric Bucher. And you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Bucher Friends. Don't forget, if you enjoy the show, please drop us a rating. Review us on iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you get them. Screenshot the review, tweet it to us at Bucher Friends, and you'll be entered for a chance to win some prizes from Ryan Hollins, Will Blackman, or myself. All right, we have a few things to get to. We're going to talk a little bit NBA All-Star. We're going to break Will Blackman's analysis of the All-Star game out of the box.
Oh, okay.
But before we get to that, we do have a couple of football matters to get to, starting with Colin Kaepernick and the NFL settling their legal dispute over collusion. And I don't intend to make light of the subject when I say this is not how the movie's supposed to end. I wanted something, because I thought it was so, and maybe I'm overplaying this, it was somewhat noble, the cause that Cap was fighting, that something more than a unknown settlement would be the end of this issue. How do you feel about it?
The issue is not over until he's actually playing in the NFL again. That's how I feel about it.
Okay, but the grand fight feels like it's over. I mean,
it's not over until he suits up. That's the deal. So here's the thing: is there's two issues here. There's the social injustice. There's him kneeling, protesting, doing his deal for the the black community in that regards. And then there's the lawsuit where he's saying that they're not allowing him to play in the NFL.
Right.
So this lawsuit is not about social injustice. This lawsuit is about him being, quote unquote, blackballed,
right,
to not be able to play in the NFL.
Okay, it's harder for me to separate the two because I felt as if the reason that he was being blackballed was because of his kneeling and taking a position on social injustice and speaking out as much as he did. And so you're right in terms it hasn't been fully resolved, but I mean, if he doesn't play again in the NFL, is Colin going to continue? Now, is he going to take up the cause again and say, I'm not sure. I mean,
no, that's the thing. Does the cause end? Does he stop doing what he's doing?
Yeah.
That's the deal. So my thing is, say he does come back in the NFL and he's playing. I don't know what happened. No one knows what happened on the meeting, Right. Is it like, hey, you can come back, you can play, just as long as you don't kneel, we don't want you doing all your social injustice stuff, we'll help you out. I don't know what they said. Now, If he does come back and is signed by a team and is playing, is he still going to do what he's been doing?
Here's the great conclusion that everyone has leapt to, which is that he got a huge payoff from the league to settle this. Some astronomical number. I've heard people 60, 80, $100 million, right? But we don't technically know that. We just assume that this went away because they made it, they made an offer that he couldn't refuse. But maybe they didn't. Maybe they just said, you're going to be allowed to come back and play, and you can continue to do what you're doing, and But then on the other hand, like how would you accept that if you're Colin without being on a team, right? I mean, if there's some other payoff, which is a possibility, I just don't know what it is that would cause him to withdraw the suit.
Yeah, I mean, this can be maybe just a spiteful matter with his team, his law team, in terms of like, hey, you can sue for this, mm-hmm. You can go after them for a certain amount of money because this is what they're doing, as opposed to like him truly like, I just want to play football.
Yeah,
I don't know that. I don't know Colin. I don't know where his mind is. I don't know where his heart is in terms of football, in terms of social injustice. All I can see is from afar. I see what he's doing. I don't know him like that. So in terms of what his motive is, his mindset.
Yeah. His lawyer says that he does want to play.
But that's what his lawyer said.
Yeah. Well, we haven't heard from Cap.
Talking.
I mean, we haven't heard from
Cap.
Cap.
That's what I'm saying. Cap's not talking.
Right.
So I don't know. Even from the beginning of all this whole social injustice thing, like, it was just, for me, I got to maybe read up on it or whatever, but it was just all of a sudden. Was he doing this at Nevada?
Oh, not to my knowledge. No.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know where his heart is. I don't know. I have no idea, dude. I'm not being ignorant in terms of what's going on, but I truly had no interest in whatever he was doing, his movement and what have you. Now, in terms of like social injustice, that, just as a whole, I do have a heart for that. I do have awareness and I do pay attention to that. But in terms of what he's doing, I don't know where his heart is because I don't know him. So in terms of it being genuine, that regards, I don't know. Regardless of him spending millions of dollars, him going to places, I've seen politicians do the same. I've seen billionaires go around and do the same. Okay.
Yeah, I know that he has not just the money, but he has committed time. He's held, sessions with youth, these instructive sessions, camps, et cetera, et cetera. So I believe that he has made a sincere effort to try to contribute.
But here's my thing. Once he kneeled, all right, you got to be all about it now.
Right.
You can't pump fake and kneel.
Well, see, and here's the thing. So I feel as if he was all about it. And now this settlement, without hearing anything from him and knowing what the settlement was, knowing whether he's going to play again, knowing essentially, I mean, this is the heart of it. This is the number one question that I would have for Colin. Why did you settle? What was your motivation for settling? Because he spent enough time, not playing, having his name and everything up and down. Like, that had to have been stressful to be in the position that he was in, I would think.
I think it was a matter of it being a football issue. Like, hey, had I been playing, I probably could have made X amount of dollars. Had I been playing.
Yeah.
And because I'm not playing, I'm missing out on millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah. Well,
so
I would hope
that's a problem.
Yeah. See, I guess I had hoped that it went beyond you're not allowing me to play or make a livelihood, and it was you're not allowing me to take a position on something that's important to me. And so screw everything else. I'm going to take you on and say you're saying all the right things about supporting this cause, but the reality is I was the guy that started bringing attention to this, and you decided to blackball me for what? Because I brought attention to social injustice? I'm going to nail you to the wall that's exactly what you did. You cut me out of being able to play football because I fought this battle. Because I feel as if the NFL has kind of tried to straddle the two. They've tried to say, hey, we support the idea, we just don't like the way that you did it because it's hurting our bottom line, which is it's kind of difficult to define.
Yeah, what if this issue did go to court? Who's to say Cap would win that?
Well, yeah, I would think the only reason the NFL would settle, again, the question is, was it a monetary settlement? What did the NFL give up to settle this? The general feeling is that Cap was winning because for it to go to court, a judge has to determine, or an arbitrator has to determine, there's enough evidence there to take this to court. Now, it doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to win, but it means there's something there. And there was going to be discovery of what that was in the court proceedings. So if the NFL settled, the thinking is they did because they ultimately didn't want that whatever it is to be put out in court. Let's push to, okay, so the assumption is he's eligible to play. Do you think, and there's been talk about the Carolina Panthers, sort of uncertainty with Cam, similar style as far as running dual threat quarterback. Do you see him playing? And if so, is Panthers the place that you see him playing?
Definitely not Carolina. I like their backup they had. Actually, he was a third stringer, Kyle Oletta. I like him. I don't think it's there. I guess there was also rumors like, hey, I think his agent or his lawyer said that somebody said that he wouldn't be surprised if Bob Kraft made a call.
Oh, I did hear that.
But
okay, you know the funny. Patriots. You know the Patriots. Do you see that?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know where he would go. Because one, he hasn't played. And it's not like, he... Actually, you know where I can see him? I could see him in Philly.
Oh.
Somebody who's running RPOs. Philly, Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago's a good place because Trubisky did do a lot of running.
Yeah. Chicago's a very conservative town. I could see that happening in Philly before I could see it in Chicago. Philly brought Michael Vick back.
Brought Michael Vick back.
Right? So, they've set precedent as far as giving your guy a second chance.
Yep.
All right. The other football subject I want to hit real quick is Antonio Brown accusing Ben Roethlisberger of having an owner mentality, which he further explained on Twitter that basically Big Ben feels he has the right to criticize anyone, coach, player, whatever, regardless of their status. And that I think if I am interpreting Antonio's words correctly, he felt like he deserved more respect than to have Ben calling him out publicly.
Like publicly on the field, in the media?
Yeah, in the media.
I don't know, man. I think everyone's just being sensitive about everything.
Yeah.
The person is right there every day. Go talk to that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
like I don't know. I don't get it in terms of all that stuff. Like if I have an issue with somebody I've known for a long time, I'm gonna go to that person.
Sure.
Where they wouldn't even have the chance to speak about me in public.
Yeah.
Because clearly there's just no one's communicating. They're gonna go talk.
I'm not siding with anyone in this because
neither am I.
But AB basically litigating this on Twitter is not the right move in my mind either. Like Twitter for things that are as deep as this, as complicated as this, as nuanced as this, which is a relationship, a long-held relationship with a team, with a quarterback, to try to explain where you're at and where they're at and what caused your reaction on Twitter, 280 characters. No, it can't be done. And I don't think it's healthy for resolving the situation. And it's not, I don't think it's helping AB either if he's trying to get someplace else. I mean, isn't everybody ever...
He's popular enough to actually have a well-produced sit-down with somebody.
Sure, absolutely.
And talk.
ESPN, FS1... They'd be
somebody
CBS. They'd be like climbing over each other.
Yeah, just a produce sit down. Almost like with.
Do you know AB?
Not at all.
Oh, I was gonna say you could invite him onto the podcast. He could sit down with us.
No, I don't know AB. I know Ben. I don't know AB.
I'm more interested in AB's side of this thing than Ben's at this point.
You and everybody else.
Yeah. All right. So.
But I feel like it's not going to bother anybody, though. Like, AB can do all that stuff, but because he's so good, that's why he's doing all that. Because at the end of the day, That's not going to bother teams. No one's worried about that because he's that good.
He is that good, but and this is always the thing for me with football is that you can't tell me that there aren't at least a couple of teams that are going to say, nah, it's not worth the headache.
Everyone's going to have a sit down and find out for themselves. AB might even be at the combine. I'll be surprised. I won't be surprised if he's there.
Walking do what?
Around, talk to all these teams.
Interesting.
They're all going to be there all next week. There's going to be a lot of business going down at those combines.
So the lack of interest in Dez Bryant, the difference between Antonio Brown and Dez Bryant simply is Antonio Brown can still play, and Dez couldn't, right? Both of them are being outspoken.
The difference is AB's like downfield, deep threat, stretch the field ability.
Yeah,
that's the difference. Because they're not saying he can't play with Dez. They're saying that he just can't stretch the field vertical, and take the top off of defense like he used to when he first came in the league. But Dez can still play. It's almost like kind of how Anquan Bolden, when he first came in, Anquan Bolden was taking the top off the defense, running go routes. And when he was younger, then when he got older, he became just a dog moving the chains, real physical receiver. That's how Dez is now.
You talked, though, about the connection that AB and Big Ben have. And not saying that like AB would be less with another quarterback, right, but he'd have to develop that, right? I mean, there is something that they have that's pretty unique.
I don't know if he'd be less. We don't know. And someone challenged him, and he was like, trade me and find out. He said that earlier this year, again on Twitter. But yeah, they just had a different connection because they just knew each other so well. It didn't really matter whether they got along or not. They knew that it was about business. They knew that between those lines, they had a job to do.
Yeah.
And so there's times where AB's not even running routes. He just knows where to go. Sometimes AB will do his own thing.
Yeah.
And I know, and then Big Ben is like, all right, let me just wait till he gets open and I'll throw it to him. There's so many things that go on in the games where things are drawn up and that's just not how it goes because something else happened.
Yeah. And you have to have, where the magic happens is you got one or more guys who read the situation changing and react the same way or look for the same thing as a result of what changed in the game.
Yeah, like if AB runs his own route,
yeah,
Ben knows he ran his own route, then he's just going to buy time.
But he also knows why he ran his own route.
Yes, what I mean, though. Like
right.
he's already aware of Ben knows his personnel. He knows what AB's going to do. He knows he's unpredictable. Where, yeah, he may go to another team and say he does run a different route. And the quarterback's going to be like, what the hell just happened?
But here's the thing. If he knows he's going to do it and he can connect them on him with it, then he kind of knows he's going to break a play or a route, but he knows what he's going to go to in that situation because he's not just, it's not a random break. He's doing something as a result of the defense.
No, it could be a random break where you may have two guys in the same area.
Okay, but where he goes from that has to make sense to both of them if they're going to connect.
Who say they actually connected on that play? That's what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. Well, then that does open the door to, how good would AB be with somebody else, at least in terms of the learning curve of what AB ultimately is going to do? Or do you feel like those exceptions, like, yeah, he breaks a play here or there, but it's not enough that they're spot on every other time, or he's so good? This is the thing I'm really curious about is what is it that makes, and this is going to sound like a funny question, that makes him so good? That is unique about Antonio, because I feel like he's got kind of everything. He can be physical, he can be fast, over the top, he can make sharp cuts, he can make you miss, he can go get the ball. But is there some element that you look at him and you go, this is what he has that no other receiver has? This is the sweet spot for him.
Yeah, I think he just feels like he's going to win every single battle throughout the entire game. He is probably, if not one of the hardest working receivers I've seen since T.O. Like that type of work ethic, that type of mindset. So every game, he's going after it, and he just works extremely hard the entire game, and he's never out of it. Yeah, he just has that different mindset where it's time to line up. It doesn't matter.
And he's going to go hard every play.
Every play, yep.
All right, let's move on to the basketball.
Let's cross over.
Look at you. By the way, speaking of crossovers, loudest cheer for anybody all night long, Allen Iverson.
AI, yeah. I saw him. That's my guy. That's my favorite basketball player of all time.
And he's still got the cool. He's still got the swag.
That's one guy I want to meet. I never met him before. I seen him at Penn Relays one time, but I didn't go up to him.
I met him a couple times. I did a story on him when he went to Denver, and he and Carmelo hooked up for that short period. Yeah, he's an very interesting cat.
How's an all-star player supposed to come off the bench? How's an MVP supposed to come off the bench?
Yeah, well,
that was his argument.
Yeah. He could have continued to play. But it wasn't just coming off the bench. It was everything else. It was the entire role. It was the entire package.
Yeah, right.
And this is the thing. At the time, I thought, what a waste, because he can still play. I saw Grant Hill make the adjustment. I saw Jason Kidd make the adjustment. I'd like to see, Carmelo. Funny that I just mentioned him. Like, Melo's not making it. Melo could still play. Melo was scoring 16 last year. Like, he could still play in the league. Now, can he be the go-to guy on a good team? No. He's got to play more of a complementary role now. Could he be the scorer off the bench? Yes. Same with AI. AI would have killed coming off the bench.
Right.
Like,
the other AI came off the bench, Iguodala.
Yes. Well, but that was justified. He was never going to be. David West said it to me. I said, you were a main guy with New Orleans. You were a main guy with Indiana. What was it that made you decide, I'll go to San Antonio for less, I'll play a role, I'll go to... And he said, because I came to the realization that I was never going to be good enough. I wasn't good enough as a main guy to win a championship. So I could do the all-star thing, and I could go to the playoffs, and I'd be first round or second round and out. And I wanted to experience being a champion. So I knew who I was. And obviously AI, it gets more complicated when you're a superstar like AI. That's why I make the comparison to Jason Kidd and Grant Hill, because they at one point were of that superstar status.
Of that status?
Well, look, both Hall of Famers. They're in the realm.
Okay.
Look, AI never won a title. J. Kidd won a ring. And he went to the finals twice. Iverson went exactly once. What is the difference? The difference is, and this is what made it so hard for him above everything else, is that AI, and the reason they got the cheers tonight, AI wasn't just a great basketball player.
He was an influencer.
He was a cultural icon.
Yes.
He was a cultural icon. And cultural icons.
Why do I have tattoos? Because of him.
A former superstar can figure out how to come off the bench. A cultural icon has no shot at coming off the bench.
No, this is my show.
Just can't happen.
Dude, I got a sleeve full of tattoos because of him. I got a picture on my desk over there with Obama. I have cornrows in my hair because of him.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
The one sleeve everybody wears, that's him.
Yep.
Why do you have to wear a suit on the sideline? Because of him.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
It's true. So you watched the end of the All-Star game. We'll touch upon. What was your takeaway?
I just love watching Damian Lillard shoot.
Yeah.
I do. It's crazy. I was like, man, this is just a reminder of his range. I know he does that a lot in games, but just how comfortable he is. I love his game. I just love how zen he plays. He just plays so calm and relaxed no matter what.
It's a very
situation. Good. No, it was funny. It was almost like watching the Dream Team on one side.
Yeah. So
I was like, that team could take on any team in the world right now and dominate.
Yeah. It was an interesting dynamic because they were getting run for a good part of the game. They were down by double digits.
Like 20, yeah.
And Team Giannis was one of the reasons why everybody thought Team LeBron was going to win, because they had all the stars.
Right.
But Team Giannis came out sort of with a chip on their shoulders, as if they knew, hey, they're all the high-flying free agents.
Right, we're the underdogs right now.
We're the underdogs. And so they came out and they actually played, like they got up and down the floor and they just played with energy. And they started defending earlier than Team LeBron. And this is why, like when people talk about Boston being better without Kyrie and like all that, it's like, no. There's a time in the game when it comes to winning the game. And as you saw with Lillard, there's a point
that's when everything rose.
Yes.
For those all-stars.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is what happens in the playoffs. The game goes to another level. And there are certain guys that have the capability of rising with it and above it. And there are other guys who are really good players and really good regular season players. And when the game goes up that extra notch, then they can even be really good end of game regular season players. When the best talent is on the floor and it's like, okay, now you got to show me something. There are certain guys that can do it. And there's certain guys that no matter how much they play, they can't.
Right.
And that's what happened is you had a team full of guys, all of whom Kyrie, Damian.
Yeah, a lot of MVPs over there.
A lot of KD. You had Kawhi. You had a bunch of guys who have demonstrated in the playoffs that they could rise to that.
That group you just named demonstrated their whole lives.
Yes. Yes.
There's been moments at each stage of their life where they had to take over. You can say everyone was the best player when they were coming up, right, through high school and all that stuff. Yeah, but these guys were the guys. Yeah. Through high school, through college, into the pros.
So I don't want to take anything away from Chris Middleton, first G League player to ever become an all-star. Huge accomplishment. Hats off to him. But if you had asked anybody out there who didn't know and said, pick out the G League player, I'm guessing a lot of people would have looked to Middleton. You could just see, like, he just didn't have what everybody else had. And
maybe he was starstruck.
could be that too. But he had been in the 3-point, and this goes back to Saturday night. Like he had been in the 3-point contest once before. And he told the Bucks, I was nervous that one. I'll be much better this time. Well, the problem is this time you had Steph, you had defending champion Devin Booker, you had Joe Harris from the Nets, who's not a big name, but is leading the league in shooting percentage. You had an array of guys out there that suddenly it was, okay, you've done this before, but I don't know if you've done it against this competition before. The competition's not changing. And so I saw it happen again. And so, Middleton's like one of those guys when people are like, especially coming up to free agency, like, oh, if LeBron can't get Kawhi or can't get AD or can't get, these guys, the big names, KD, Kyrie, Kawhi, maybe he can get Chris Middleton. Like as if that would be like a substitute. Like he'd be a worthwhile substitute of those other guys. And I'm like, come on.
He's going to come over though. He's going to get him too.
He might come over
because he needs a shooter.
Get the money.
He needs a shooter.
But it won't. It's not the same as having one of those guys.
Of course, yeah.
So I do have to pay off one other thing. So it was like the hard workers, the underdogs, got to enjoy themselves for 2.5 quarters, and then the real guys kind of said, "Okay, now we're gonna go win this game." And Team Giannis just didn't have an answer. It was interesting to watch Steph Curry, who at one point I was ready to give most entertaining player award to, because between the 4-point play against Clay and the unbelievable bounce pass for the dunk by Antetokounmpo, I don't know if you saw it, but
I did see it, yeah.
Like he just made a number of plays that made it the most fun to watch. He had another one where it was like a scoop shot off the glass.
Right, it was like a left hook shot off the glass.
Yeah, I mean
then the self bounce to himself. Reverse dunk.
Yes. Well, and then he closed the game with the reverse dunk off the bounce. Yeah.
Right.
But then he was 6 for 23. He shot worse than Russ Westbrook, and Russ at one point was he was shooting more than he was averaging more than a shot a minute. Like, it was insane. But going back to Saturday and the 3-point contest and the dunk contest, some people were pointing out, was following it on Twitter, that the 3-point contest is better than the dunk contest, and this is the worst dunk contest ever, et cetera, and it's getting worse by year. And look, I've long enjoyed the 3-point contest more than the dunk contest simply because it's more consistently entertaining. And there's something about, at some point, guys get into a rhythm and they hit a 3 and the crowd goes, yay. And then they hit another 3 and the crowd gets louder, yay. And you see there's this like build up and this momentum, and everybody's watching the clock and they're watching the buckets and they know the score they have to beat. And it makes it a storyline, a live storyline that is entertaining. And so the dunk contest, I think there's two things here. But the biggest one is it's so hard with a static, like we're sitting there waiting to be amazed. And amazed above and beyond what we see in games or what we've seen before, or honestly, what we see in the movies. Like, I honestly believe that all of the special effects that we have with The Matrix, when you've watched The Matrix and you've watched somebody dodging bullets and the slow motion of the bullets and then speed it up and all of the special effects, we as fans and consumers, the dunk contest, it can't deliver. Because even on the big dunks, like Diallo had some really nice dunks from the very start. But like he would do it and it would be so quick that the crowd couldn't quite react because they weren't sure what they saw. And then they'd show the replay in slow motion and people would appreciate it more. And so the combination of us wanting to see something more and bigger and better, which I think we had. I mean, come on. Diallo dunked over Shaq, and he did it easily. And while he put his hand on Shaq's back, it was really, like, I've seen guys do this. In fact, I think Dennis Smith Jr. did it on his dunk. Like, I've seen guys literally, when they jump over somebody, they push off. They get a hand there and they push off and up. Diallo did not do that. That was almost just like, let me get a feel for where he is so that as I jump over him, I know how far I have to go. Did it with ease and crushed it. That was one where you went, wow, that was amazing. And I said, I put it out on Twitter, the ease with which he threw down every one of his dunks was Vince Carter, Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine, Jason Richardson-esque. And yet, the crowd couldn't appreciate it. And I don't think it's because, like some people want to say it's because the big names aren't in it. They want to say we've seen all the dunks.
That is a big deal. But that's the difference. I was going to mention that's the difference between the 3-point contest and the dunk contest are the stars. Okay,
but so here's the thing. The drama with if you want to say it's because you don't get to see the drama of the big names, I agree with that. Because you're going to have a winner and you're going to have a loser. It adds spice to it. But the actual dunks that are being performed, I'm sorry, you can't convince me that anybody was going to do anything more electric than what Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon did in 2016 or what Diallo was doing last night.
You're not going to see 2016 ever again. That is still the best dunk contest. I don't care what anybody says.
And what was that? That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, the 4 years prior to that, everybody was looking to get rid of the dunk contest. So this is what it really comes down to. It's not that the dunk contest sucked last night. is that Diallo had no competition.
Right. There was no back and forth like with Levine and Gordon. Like literally, it was like whoever puts down a 48, 49 is going to lose.
Exactly.
That's what it was.
Exactly. And you kept getting like freaking 50s. I could not for the life of me figure out the judging. Like Miles Bridges literally did not complete a dunk on one of the first rounds. And he got a 33 or 35, and he ended up eliminating John Collins, who threw down both of his dunks. I don't know how the hell that happens, other than he was the local product. And you'd hate to think that you're just doing this, you're skewing it just for the local fans. In any event, and I've gone back and forth with this, but continue the dunk contest. I think you should. I think we're going to have years where you'll have another year where you have a Levine and a Gordon. I don't know if they can reach the heights that they did because that was special. But you know what? At some point, got to believe that they will. I don't know how long it'll take. May not be quite as good. You really just want something that's going to be competitive.
They just have to up the incentive, Because here's the thing, too. Like you mentioned, you can't really appreciate dunks that happen too quick. That's what made Levine and Gordon's dunks so special. Their competition, because they had so much flair, they had so much hang time, and you truly got to see it. And it's cool. I can go back and like rewatch that one because I love seeing the star players' reaction.
Yes, yeah.
Like they ran off the court every single time during that whole competition.
It was unbelievable what they were doing. But here's the thing. I look at athletically what guys are doing dunk-wise, the creativity. It blows away what guys were doing 10, 15 years ago. Right. The names were bigger.
That's what made it cool.
The names were bigger, and there was something at stake. Because, Dominique going up against Michael Jordan, bring it on. And that's this year didn't have that star value. But then Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine didn't either. So I don't believe it's about you have to have the big names. You just have to have real competition. And this year would have been good. I mean, this year could have potentially been good. I don't know if Dennis Smith Jr. was hurt or whatever, but he just couldn't. What you saw of the dunks that he wanted to perform or execute looked like they could be pretty thrilling if he'd been able to pull them off. Ultimately, he couldn't.
No, right. They would have. But once again, I'm telling you, man, just watch that one again, the Levine and the Gordon one. Just their flair. I hear you saying that his dunks they were of his caliber, but they weren't, man. They weren't. They
weren't of Levine Gordon caliber.
No.
But Diallo's was close.
He would have, if he was in that dunk contest, he would have had to dig real deep in his bag.
Probably.
Deep.
Probably.
Okay.
But he was, I thought he was very good.
Windmill from the free throw line? All right.
What's that?
I said windmill from the free throw line? Okay.
Yeah. Oh. The one where Gordon goes over the mascot.
And goes under his legs.
And under his legs, yeah. And he's literally, it looks like he's sitting in a lounge chair.
Chair, exactly.
8 feet up in the air.
And they were all one takes.
Yeah.
That's what makes it when we have to wait.
Yes.
That's what makes Vince Carter's his whole thing so special. Because I think 9 out of his 10 dunks, let's just say that's what it was, were one takes.
Wildly creative too.
Wildly creative in one takes.
So, but even his, because I was there for his dunk contest. The one where he hangs on the rim with his elbow.
Right. Yeah.
Like the crowd really didn't react because they didn't really realize what they'd just seen. It was another instance of it took you, like, you kind of had to sit with it, and then you saw the replay, and you're like, oh my God.
Right, because you're waiting for the acrobatics on the way to the hoop.
Yeah. So, anyway, dunk contest isn't going anywhere, but I sincerely believe part of it is what we have become accustomed to as viewers of movies, of athletics, of everything. Because here's the other part, like, generally when we're at home, we get to see everything in replay too. So we're used to seeing everything in slow motion, and something might look electric initially, but it's like, okay, wait a minute, I got to see that again.
Right.
But you don't have the instant, oh my God. Now, every now and then you do, but it's not consistent. And you're also, here's the other thing. This is the big difference. This is the difficulty. You're not expecting it. It surprises you.
Right.
You're like dunking a game or a diving catch, or somebody goes over the wall, or somebody, whatever the play is, somebody breaks a run. It suddenly happens. Well, with the dunk contest, you're sitting there basically going, okay, amaze me.
Especially now. We've seen so many dunk contests.
And we've seen them in games. We've seen crazy dunks in games. Guys are now...
Not even in games, just the age of social media, we've seen everything.
Yes.
That's what makes it worse.
Yeah. Now,
so that's why I really appreciate what Aaron Gordon, and Zach LaVine did.
I'm with you on that.
Like, he put a mascot on a hoverboard, spinning around in the 360. Come on, dude. And then you take it off and you do a 360 cuff, hand behind the head. That was well thought.
Both of them. But again, as we've said, the biggest thing driving it was the fact that you had the competition between the two. It was amazing competition, but if you'd had only one of them performing that, it would be...
cool.
Look at it this way. Jason Richardson, virtuoso performance. Vince Carter, still one of the great all-time, for my money, performances. But they didn't have what LaVine and Gordon did. Even Neek and Jordan had each other and kind of were going back and forth. It was.
That's what made it cool, because the back and forth.
Exactly.
Same thing. Neek and Spud Webb, back and forth.
Exactly. All right. So that does it for this episode. So a 2-part episode. We give you both NFL news and the NBA All-Star Game. We are going to continue the conversation about the NBA in tomorrow's podcast as we look at the stretch run and what we're expecting to see, what Will is expecting to see. I still don't know as of right now who Will Blackman's team is, what he expects them.
My NBA team?
Yes. It can't be the one. It can't be the one where you grew up, is it?
Only in the postseason.
Oh, God. Okay. So he may be equivocating when it comes to the team that he ultimately picks, but we'll get into that.
I like players, man. I told you I like players. So I liked Iverson. I liked Jordan Iverson growing up. I didn't like the Bulls. I didn't like the Sixers. I like the players.
I forgot. You're cusp of millennial. So it's not
Barry,
about...
But I saw Barry Sanders. I think it was 1990 or 91.
Yeah.
I watched him that year. And I think the Lions made the playoffs that year. And that's when I fell in love with football, because I watched Barry Sanders. And so I just like Barry Sanders.
All right. Do we have any fight news that we have to get to in the next podcast?
There was a fight tonight.
Velasquez got KO'd.
In 26
seconds. Maybe we won't be talking about that. Right. Not a whole lot to break down.
I think Tyson Fury and Wilder have another fight. It's not announced yet, but I think they have another fight coming up.
All right. One of the other things I do want to get into with you is the decision that Kyler Murray made to play football over baseball, and love to get your analysis of what you think he can be, and if Will Blackman were in that position to make that choice. This is what I really want to know. We're going to save this for the podcast tomorrow, because I know there's a couple other sports that intrigue you, and one you've mentioned before on previous podcasts. If you were given the chance to be a pro football player, pro X sport,
and be the best at it, right?
One of the best, yes. You could be as good as you were as an NFL player. He's thinking about it. You'll have plenty of time to break this down.
I already know my answer.
You get 24 hours to think it over.
I already know my answer, so I'll answer tomorrow.
All right. That's all there is for this episode of Bucher and Blackman. Don't forget, bucherandfriends.com. There is a link to a survey. Click on the link. Only takes a minute or two to fill it out. And you will be eligible to win a $50 gift card to Amazon if you do. In the meantime, thanks for listening.